All right, special episode, real estate versus technology, Thanksgiving edition. So we're filming this during Thanksgiving morning before all the festivities and all the eating is going to be happening. So Dan and I, our co-hosts, were talking right before, and we're like, "Hey, what the?" He's like, "Notification 8 minutes before our podcast." What's up, Dan? Welcome.
I put my iWatch on, and it said I had a podcast. Like literally, that's what happened, and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm sitting at my desk. Let's do it."
That's awesome. I love it. You want to switch it up? Who do we have today on today's podcast, Dan?
Mr. Cody from Sheridan Street. I always I would say Sheridan IO, but I think that might be his website. He can tell us. But Sheridan Street, Mr. Cody May himself.
Pumped to be here, guys. Pumped to jam.
200 plus episodes on podcasts and doing his thing, man.
Yeah, things are rocking and rolling, man. It's great to be here on Thanksgiving. So, a lot to be grateful for.
Amen to that. So are you currently in Canada? Is that where you're located right now?
Yeah, currently in Canada. I actually board a flight tonight to Punta Cana. I'm going to spend about a month and a half there, and then I head back to Medellin, Colombia, which is where I've kind of resided over the last year. Been fairly nomadic. Yeah. Headed to Punta Cana. It's getting cold here. It's time for me to take off and no longer be in Canada. So, as soon as the snow hits ground, I'm like, let's leave.
I can relate. I used to live in the Cleveland area, and once I graduated from college, I literally just moved to San Jose, California. I was like, I'm done.
You're like, game over. Yeah. Game over. Yeah, no, 100%. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. We're in Arizona over here, so it's definitely it cooled off, which was nice. Traveled abroad myself. Was in Canada. I was in Korea and the Philippines and what have you, and then came back. It was like just cooling off, go out of the country. It's super humid, hot over there. Get back. I was like, oh, thank God it's cooled off and nice. So very grateful for that.
Yeah, I was just in Seattle yesterday, and it's not nice. And I'm back in Oregon now, and it's not nice. So I'm right back to the winter. That's what it is.
Roll the punches, man.
Yeah,
got to roll the punches. So we're talking a little bit off air about some of the things that we want to touch on today's podcast. Kind of getting into like the market expectations. Obviously, low inventory, high interest rates has shifted some things. We've seen the CPI report. Obviously, they're not going to be raising anything just yet. Hopefully, 2024 comes with some better interest rates. But before we get to that subject matter, can we talk about a little bit about yourself? Plus, on the podcast, you're helping agents out there scale and grow, and love to add value to our community. So, what are you seeing out there? And thanks so much for all your service and helping this industry grow, man. We all need more of Cody's in the world.
Yeah, this year has been, there's no shortage of like, what the heck, this year has been, there's no shortage of that. So, this year has been very, very interesting. We had the opportunity to work with some of the largest real estate teams from across the country, really helping them, create first conversations. Kind of like, to sum up what we're doing and what we're about is, if you have a database, we help you set appointments. If you don't have a database, we help you build the database and set appointments. And when we work with a lot of these large teams, it really comes down to, like, we were talking off air, just about like a fundamental belief that our business is built around is like all conversion happens in conversation. And when we believe that, a lot of these teams are now, looking at what are some other ways that we can actually drive income for our business? How can my agents have more conversation? And that's, that's it. There's tons of market dynamics out there. And we're just trying to tee up as many conversations that we possibly can, because, fundamentally our belief is if we can just tee up conversations for agents, for their teams, they can do what they do best.
I love that. Interesting. Really quick question for me. Let's talk a little bit more about not having a database, right? A lot of agents, either they're using Excel spreadsheets or they're not sending out emails. I mean, we have on the sponsor side, so thanks for LiftOut for sponsoring the show. We have clients on that side that go and they're like, oh, I don't like calling my database or reaching out to them. It's just like I should, and I help them sell or buy a home. But what does that process look like for people out there listening and growing their own businesses?
This is a great question, because I think that the industry is a little broken, because if you go to any other industry, tech sales, any other industry, like they understand that the buying cycle of a lead is 6 to 18 to 24 to 36 months. And I think that, like, with the instant gratification that we naturally feel when we get that commission check in our hands, we go from 0 to 100 really quick, and that can be good, but it can also hinder the growth that we experience inside of our businesses. Where, if you look at like you look at even like the tech sales space, like it's a lot of nurture, it's a lot of communication, it's a lot of branding. And, I was thinking about this the other day, and I wrote an email about this to our database about even my journey of buying a new laptop. And this sounds like super silly. It sounds super silly and super funny. But it literally took me 2 years, and I run a business, and we work with agents, and I use my laptop every day. But I was like really humming and hawing over. I'm like, do I actually need a new laptop? Like everything's, it's like, sure, I have to plug it in. Sure, the battery doesn't work, but like, do I really go to places that don't have battery? And it was like a consistent internal battle of whether I should or shouldn't. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of agents. And that's the power of like consistent follow-up and consistent storytelling. And the clients that we've been working with over the last, couple of years, like I've been really trying to shift them towards the reason they don't want to follow up with their database is they don't know what to say. And I think that is really what it comes down to. But it's like, if you look at some of the largest brands in the world, or some of the, whether it be personal or whether it be business, like how are they effective communicators? They communicate through storytelling. And, I think a lot of times agents out there feel like okay, well, I have nothing really exciting to say, but it's not exciting if all you're posting is just listed, just sold, but actually tell the story of like the plane ride, like the turbulence that happened. Like those types of stories resonate with the end consumer because it's more real, it's more authentic. And I think that, you could storytell with your database to keep in touch with them. Hey, I recently had this client. Here's what happened. Here's the lesson that we learned. And by the way, if you're ever looking for a market valuation to see how your home's doing currently in the market, let me know. And I think that storytelling has become a lost art where people just like, they try to give information. But if you look at the top communicators from, around the world, or the top communicators from history, how did they communicate? They communicate through storytelling. So I think there's a lot for us to learn about nurturing a database if we can learn to be more effective storytellers.
Yeah, it's
I love that.
I think that, and I want to unpack two things here, is that agents undermine the skill as well as the long-term return on investment and building a nurture cycle. Mm-hmm. Like you said, like it's like, oh, are they willing to buy or sell in the next like 90 days? No, I don't care. And they'll throw them on some generic home bot or something random that's not really them. But number two is, in doing so, I've finally seen this, because once you get the database to 4,000 or 5,000 contacts, and you start nurturing them, and then you start following up with them, it's amazing how many people, and I just wanted to share this with everybody listening. It's amazing how many people will reach out to me like, hey, Dan, I want to go have you show me this house. I'm like, who the hell is this person? I don't remember ever talking to them. Maybe they were like a Zillow lead. Maybe I like talked to them maybe 15 minutes. And I'm like, hey, like they were like, oh, I got your email last week. Like, how's your kids doing? I'm like, whoa. Nurture works. Yeah. Nurture works. So I can see tremendous value in what your service is doing and re-engaging those people and getting them into that funnel of content. Yeah. That's super important.
Just, it's conversation. And I think, if we actually believe, and I talked about this the other day, like our beliefs map our thoughts and our thoughts map our actions. And it's like, why do people not follow up? Because there's some sort of belief statement that they have to unlock in their head and in their heart, that like, if I do this, this is what happens. Because like, you're just not going to do it if you do, and this is why I try to get down to the core belief of like, do you actually believe that all conversion happens in conversation? Well, yeah, of course I do. It's like, okay, well, if you do, then everyone you speak with will be an opportunity to convert, whether they're 3 months out, 6 months out, 20 months out, whether they never buy a home. Your fundamental belief is all conversion happens in conversation. So I think that for us in this market right now, we're like with you guys, and congratulations on being 300 episodes deep. We're about 200 episodes deep on our podcast, and there's a consistent and persistent thought process that comes across from every top real estate team lead or every top producer. It's like, I don't care whether somebody's buying in 6, 12, 18 months. I'll sit down with them. I'll educate them. I'll answer their question, because I know that might not, that sale or that person in front of me might not necessarily be the sale, but who are they going to connect me with? Who, you know, like, and we've all heard countless amounts of stories about, you know, it's like, I have a client who took a first-time home buyer out to kind of explain to them the process. And the dad just happened to be a CEO of a really large company in the area. And then they ended up working. The dad showed up to the coffee meeting as well, because the daughter's like, can I bring my dad? And he's like, you know, absolutely. Like, we can all sit down. Dad's a big CEO. Dad's looking to buy a bunch of land. Who did the land deal? This first-time home buyer online lead that 99% of agents would dismiss. He's now working on a land deal with the CEO and a bunch of other investment properties. And like, that for me blew my mind when Mike, it's a client of ours, Mike from Ottawa, and he told me that story. I'm like, wow. Okay. That shifted my entire perspective, where I'm like, okay, there's only so many people we know in the world. It's like, how do I get connected with the people I don't know? And it's all conversation.
Yeah.
I love that.
I've been following this new rule. I don't know no one really shared it to me. I created it, and I think it's super beneficial to once you set an appointment, right? Every agent needs to give up. We get a huge check, right? And if you break it down in terms of what we paid for maybe a lead, our time in the deal, showing properties, whether you're in the buyer or list side, they're obviously there's some imbalance in terms of how much effort and bandwidth they're put into the deal. But what I really want to say is that I give about everybody 90 minutes of my time before I even know if they're buying or selling. Like, if somebody wants to go grab coffee, or just like it's a vendor or it's a lender or whoever, like 90 minutes of my time, give you 90 minutes of my time. And in that 90 minutes, my goal is to engage with you, make sure I have your contact information, and also provide you value for no reciprocation expected.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're so used to like hiring an attorney. They want a retainer, right? Or call the plumber and they want $350 to go to the house, right? And I think if you implement that with good database and an appointment setting, that's, like you said, those opportunities, it's the luck that mysteriously starts to happen.
Totally.
I love that. I think a big thing too is relationship currency. It's less about the dollar amount and more about the relationship currency. I had a meeting yesterday with one of Ty Lopez's like right-hand men, and it was very transactional. And they open up their mastermind coaching and what have you. And I'm searching, and Alex Mosey and a couple of different people that I'm talking with as far as different coaches and what have you. And it's just like, I care less about the transaction and more about the relationship and understanding who they are, what they're about, what they like to do, and potentially do we align to have more success at the end of the day. Then it's just like, hey, yeah, like it's $100,000. You want to buy in? Like, oh, okay, like no, like this seems very transactional to me. Is Ty Lopez broke? That's for a whole other conversation. But yeah, it's very interesting. And then also, you know, Cody, I want to mention, I see a lot of the storytelling to tie into what you're talking about to video. A lot of video, whether you have like the Levi Lassics of the world or Adam Hancocks of the world, and you have Mike Sherrard's, a lot of these different people that are utilizing video to then build this relationship to go deeper with individuals. And that's like passively. You don't even have to like go to the coffee shop or meet or anything. Totally. And you could cast a wider net. What's your thoughts on the relationship building, storytelling with video in your process? Have you seen any success with that process?
Yeah. You know, we tell, you know, like we do a lot of, you know, our role in the process is very belly to belly, you know, focused, because we're trying to connect agents that, like, you know, because to try to get every agent on video is very difficult. Some agents just generally don't want to do it. So like, should they do it 100%? Now, the difference being is there's an element. So I'll come back to that question, but like, there's like, how do we use video even in our appointment setting process? So we have a client that their ISA team was producing about 33% in-person show up rate to their meetings. Well, that's, that's pretty, that's pretty low, but it's pretty average. It's pretty, like, for online lead gen, it's pretty average. What they did is they installed a process where when the ISA makes the handoff to the agent has all of the information. They get thrown in a group chat together. So if they're on iPhone, they get thrown in a group chat together. The agent picks up their phone, does a quick little video, say, hey, I just chatted with Dan. I heard that you're looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath. You want a big backyard, yada, yada. This is all in video. And their show up rate to their in-person meeting went from 33% to 66%.
Wow.
I just implemented this like a year ago.
100% works. Like, so we're talking about, like, how do we just even, like, use video, like, in a very simple manner? That's the way. Now, from storytelling perspective, something I've been thinking a lot about lately is, like, because, like, there's so many videos out there that talk about, 3 tips to do this, 5 tips to do that. And, like, that's cool for a certain group of people. Like, I receive information well that way, but not everyone consumes content well that way, but everyone consumes a story where they're like, oh, I was told this story. And, like, think of the greatest communicators, like Jesus, like, as an example, whether you're religious or not, one of the greatest communicators in the world. Parables, spoke through parables, spoke through metaphors. And it's like, there's an acronym that we teach our clients that help them think in the way of, like, I told the story about my MacBook so long, and I tied it back to the long buying cycle. I could easily just say to the real estate agent, hey, you need to follow up for 18 months. Or I could flip it on its head and say, here's the story. Here's what happened in my day. Here's the lesson that we can learn together. And, oh, by the way, if you want to actually, nurture leads over 18 months, here's how we can help you do that. So thinking about even things that are happening throughout your day. I told a story the other day through video, this is a cool thing, is all the video content you do can easily take the transcript, write an email. Like, all your videos, I said, all of our clients that we do coaching with, take the video, write an email, utilize write a blog. Like, once you have the video concept, I wrote a story the other day about how I was sitting in Starbucks working for 8 hours. And at no point in the day did I see a manager. I didn't see the owner, didn't see the manager. The baristas were just working clockwork on the back end. And I said, this is beautiful. This is how a business should be run. A manager shouldn't have to work every single day. A real estate team lead should not have to work and do production. They should not be doing 80% of the production where the team is doing 20%. That is a broken business. Is a broken business. If you're doing 80% of the production and you have 7 agents that do 20% of your production, you don't have a business. You have a really high producing person that happens to have agents around him that do a couple transactions here and there. I've been thinking a lot about storytelling, because I could easily say you have a broken business, but, like, if I tie it back to a story, it's more a story of something that actually happened. It's more digestible. So I think storytelling through video, I think that we could tell stories better. I think that we can take the content that we do on video. I think that we can write emails. But, when we're talking about database building, I think there's an extremely powerful opportunity for us, especially headed into 24, to take the same content and write emails. And I'm seeing a lot of these large brands, and I'm glad I did this a year ago. Like, what Sharon said, he's like, if there's one thing you can choose to obsess about, what would it be? Some people choose brand, some people choose this. I'm like, I just want to obsess over email. I want to write as many emails as I possibly can. I want to be in the inbox every day. That's the decision I made. But I literally take the content, and I tell our clients to take their content they're doing video and just write emails. Storytelling.
Wow.
No, it's a tremendous. I'll give you guys a tactical example. You hit the nail on the head. Like, I'm 80% producer, 20% of my team does 20% of the transactions. The team's only been in business 9 months, so I've been trying to transition. Like, we have a planning meeting, me and my business partner, next week to start solving this problem. Right, like, we have a huge database. We want to get, and I've been handing them leads like Rainmaker, like giving them more opportunities. Lead will come in. I'm like, this is a good lead, but I'm giving it away, and I want to coach and get them to convert. And I'm starting to slowly see that those agents that are going to be the long-termers here, like, they're bought in, and they're starting to get the scripts. They're starting to get the email follow-up, the systems. And I think like what you're doing at your current company is exactly what people need to implement that transition.
So here's something I've learned along the way from, we have a team that we work with right now that will blow your mind. You probably know them. Jordan Terrell's team has a 14% conversion rate on Zillow. 14% conversion rate on Zillow. So the question then becomes, anyone listening to this podcast, and I say this on our podcast, the question is no longer Zillow doesn't work. The question is, you don't know how to make Zillow work, or the statement is, you don't know how to make Zillow work. So how do I make it work? The question is, how do I make it work? And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because, they use a lot of human psychology tactics on how to actually reduce sales resistance. They went through Jeremy Miner's training, all their ISAs. We do a lot of the outbound, but they have a team of 5 in-house ISAs. And Matt is a genius of a lead manager. They have a dedicated lead manager that their entire his entire focus is to coach the agents, coach the ISAs. But 14% conversion rate on Zillow leads, they found the tweaks that they need to make in the business in order to drive conversion rate. Because what's considered a really good team on Zillow? 6%, 7%.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, how do we get to 14? So there's a gap here, and I think a lot of it, you said, and you said this beautiful, Dan. A lot of it comes down to just skills. It comes down to our ability to hold people accountable for conversion rate. For me, I have stability in the business because I know that I have a guy that if I get him on 40 live calls every month, he's going to produce 6 to 8 sales. And that's just that's through a year of tracking. And I think, the lost art, and, a lot of agents that, they're on Sisu or they're on Brivity or they're working with Place, whatever you're doing, I don't care what you use in order to track. The conversation becomes, okay, the lead went to you. What happened? What's my cost per appointment? What's my cost per conversion? What's my cost per live contract? What's my a lot of agents just don't know these numbers because they're just not tracking it. And I find this a lot happens in the small teams that are doing 5 to 10 agents. They could easily go to 20 with tracking. Yeah. Easily, just literally just track the numbers, track and force them to track. And if they don't track, they're off the team, or they don't get leads. And Chris Spiker, and I heard this from Spiker a while back, and he's agnostic about this. They have a tiered program. So they have a silver, bronze, gold program where it's if your conversion rate on Zillow is below a certain amount, no hard feelings. You get bumped down to silver this month, and you got to work your way back up in order to get access to the Zillow leads again. And it's the major and the minor leagues. And when I look at some of Dean Aguilar does very similar things. When I look at a lot of these large teams, I'm okay, the blueprint's already there. It's just a decision on whether we're going to implement the blueprint or not.
I saw that. I saw that presentations, the table of those three categories, and I literally screenshotted it, came back, turned off leads for the entire team, and I'm all right, we're restructuring leads now. Only 2 of my team members are on leads right now.
Crazy, right?
Wow.
And I have 22 people on the team. I literally people are calling me hey, I'm not getting any leads, and I'm yeah, because you're not using the tracker. I don't know what's going on. You're not updating the CRM. Hey, you didn't make 120 calls. I have it dialed now, just starting to implement those systems. So I'm glad you brought that up because I literally screenshotted that from somebody else.
So good. These dudes are next level. They're just next level when it comes to tracking. And then then you stop blaming your lead vendor. Yeah. It's not Sync's problem. It's not Zillow's issue. It's you have agents on your team that don't want to actually implement the things they need to implement in order to actually get the results that they say they want. So, it's no longer a vendor issue. It might be a vendor issue. Don't get me wrong. Some vendors it sometimes can be a vendor issue. But maybe we can shift the conversation to be, it's not a 90% vendor issue. Maybe it's a 50-50 issue.
And let's talk about that.
Let's
talk about that right there, because me and Norm worked together for years, and it was always a vendor issue. Every agent always said it was a vendor issue. They weren't doing the content. They weren't doing the content. They weren't using the landing pages. They weren't using the social as a mean to storytell and convert and collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you coached and taught them. And I'll be honest, guys, yesterday was the very first time in my entire career as a real estate broker where I asked somebody to refund me for lead generation.
Interesting.
And I told the vendor this. I said, listen, man, I'm not lying to you. This is exactly the experience. The ads are garbage. The conversion, like I'm the one calling these people. I'm the one, the team owner is calling these people. So I know these leads are not high intent. They haven't been screened properly. The ad doesn't ask the right questions on the funnel. And I was like, just give me half the money back. I'll walk away. I won't say anything bad about you. Everything's good. And that was the only time I've ever done that. So I wanted to bring that up because I've spent 30, 40, 50 lead sources. We've tested everything. So it's not a lead conversion problem because in my experience, it's only happened once.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's interesting. And one thing I want to touch on too is, you know, the goals. I think a lot of times people self-sabotage because they say they want something, but realistically, they're not staying consistent with, I want to help 40, 20, 30, whatever families in the next 12 months. I mean, whoever's listening, 2024 is around the year, right on the corner. So, you know, what is it that you want? And what Dan is talking about and Cody's talking about is like the metrics, the things that you can actually grab onto and say, these are the things that are going to help me get to where I want to go. Yeah. I feel like so many agents lose sight of what they really want and they're not really hungry. And then they self-sabotage and then they want to blame it on the service provider or someone else because they don't want to take responsibility for their own shortcomings, you know?
Yeah. I'm 100% with you because like, you know, yeah, like I've had people in same markets run same ads, same market, same ad. Same market, same ad, and you know one can convert you know $200,000 worth of commission, the other one can't convert anything, and you know same ad, same video, same call center.
Yep.
One result, another result, and that's kind of like where like you said, Dan, like you know there are going to be circumstances where you know like that's going to happen. I always say like give you know. Lead gen is a dial, let's dial it in type of thing where, you know, again, like my ads that were working last month aren't working this month. Just like, it's an auction. It's an auction. Like, you know, it's like what worked last month might work again in the spring, but it's not working right now. So maybe I have to create a new video. Maybe I have to create a new landing page. Like there's so many nuances to advertising that like, we just have to think about. You know, like you mentioned, you brought up Alex Hormozi earlier. You know, he talks a lot about this in $100 million leads, like testing multiple variations of creative. And, you know, like the consumer at the end of the day, what do they want? They want to see homes. And like, you know, like I always tie it back to Zillow. Like, why does Zillow win? Because they give the consumer what they want. And we chatted about this the other day, yesterday. So we do a bi-weekly training with all of our clients that, you know, because we want our clients to win. So bi-weekly, we bring them together and we literally just run role plays and do sales trainings. And even though we're an ISA company, I want our agents to understand that they have to be able to communicate with people in order to win. Yep. So on the call yesterday, we were chatting about, we were just chatting about communication, and we were chatting about how we were chatting about how the opportunity that we have in order to, you know, speak to somebody in our database and in order to convert them, it just comes down to, you know, a conversation piece. Like, are we willing to have enough conversations in order to drive the results we want?
Yep. Yeah. I love that. And I think just a quick side note for anyone who's listening and watching, like that's where you want to go deeper in that thought process of systems, processes. If something's not working, the reason why Dan was like, give me half my money back, because he knows exactly where he wants to go. He knows the outcome he's expecting. He didn't see the outcome. So then he took the responsibility and said, fuck that. Like, you know, like something has to change here. And I think a lot of people just accept what is. And the fact that, Cody, you're there to help these individuals to have more success and to do that coaching call. That just says a lot about your character, and that individuals out there that work with you, you want to make sure that they achieve their goals and of course have success and ROI with whatever they're paying for you and your services, which is awesome. So whoever's listening out there, there's people out there that care. They want to see you win. You just got to take more responsibilities for your own success at the end of the day.
I was going to say one last point before we can turn it over to Cody to kind of end things is that the lead generations company's relationship with the agent, and we've realized this because we've been both sides of the ball, is that the lead generation company is to produce a result that they promised and also proactively engineer and shift that result to be effective. And what we see in a lot of lead generation is that they're doing the exact same thing that they offered, but it has a conversion rate that isn't being perfected on a continued basis, but they're also not communicating with the agent on what they're doing. And so I've had a lot of lead generation providers never show you the ads they're running, and then you discover them. Or I've had a lot of lead generation providers show you that the ads are doing, but they just keep them the constant the same exact time. And I think to be really effective with the Alex Hormozzi's, there's got to be that collaboration. You're going to have to willing to pay for it if you're an agent, right? Like, it's not going to be a cheap Facebook ad provider. It's going to be somebody that is like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. And they're actually reaching out and saying, hey, here's the report for the month. This is how many opportunities. This one's not doing so well. So hey, we need this, this, and this from you so that we can pivot and run these ads effectively. And I think that is the number one thing that's missing from the industry, is a team collaboration when it comes to lead generation and content to drive more conversion.
You're hearing it. Hearing it first, everyone out there. Take those notes.
Totally.
All right. Well, as we get close now to closing on our show, we like to, this obviously, if you're listening and viewing, you can always go back, watch this over, take some notes, apply this stuff to your business. It definitely will help you. But, in closing, Cody, what would you like to leave for our viewers and listeners that they could take to their business and apply to their business now? Coming to the end of 2023, 2024 is right around the corner. Of course, links down below. Check him out. Check out the company. Check out the services. Check out the podcast, right? 200 plus episodes. But what would you like to leave for our viewers and listeners as we close out our show today?
I'm going to leave with that belief statement. All conversion happens in conversation. As we head into 2024, our ability to just have more conversations, our ability to, I say, treat every lead that we speak with respect and care, regardless of their timeline, is going to be the differentiator. I've seen it time and time again with the agents that we have the opportunity to partner with, and I just leave it with that. Again, if you really want to drive, it's a mixture of time, it's a mixture of skill, it's a mixture of volume. If we can perfect those three things with our lead gen, whether it be door knocking, cold calling, referrals, strategic partners, just give it a little bit of time, learn the skill, and then put in the volume.
Yep.
Boom.
Consistent.
I love that, man.
What we need. Yep. Awesome,
man,
guys.
This is a good one. Dan, thanks so much for this great guest. Cody, thanks for being on today, man.
Thanks for having me. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah, any friend of Sharon, man, we're having him on. We powwow with them, and we're gonna get Steve on here soon too.
Oh, man. Such a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a smart cat, man. He's a super smart cat.
Talk about storytelling. I heard his story about the cell phone thing, and you guys were celebrating out of country, and what happened with that whole fiasco. So getting jumped or whatever. So it's crazy. Yeah. It works though, right? It sucks you in.
Punched in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over a cell phone. Just give it up. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Don't get stabbed over a cell phone. It's not worth it.
Here's the Apple Care. It's only $100.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get a free phone tomorrow. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
I know, right?
Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
This is
happy Thanksgiving
podcast, and we appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, subscribe, notification bell. Thanks so much for Cody being on. Thanks to Lift Off Agents for sponsoring the show. We'll see you guys all in the next one.